Hello, Norfolk and Nottinghamshire class. Welcome to your lesson today for Destination Reader. We are reading the BFG by Roald Dahl. This is our 11th lesson out of 20. Okay, so just like before, any keywords, any important words that I want you to know are in red. And any questions I have for you to answer are written in blue. And your writing time is written in green. Okay, so we've been doing this for 2 weeks now, so I bet you're all organised and ready to go. Do you have a copy of the story? Do you have a strategy prompt sheet? Do you have a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper or your home learning book? If you have all of those things, well done. If you don't, no problem. Go and get everything together and then press play and continue. Press pause now. Okay, so we are ready to continue the BFG by Roald Dahl. We're going to continue with strategy number 3. This is inference. I want you to have a think. What does inference mean? And why do good readers make inferences? I want you to say your answer out loud and then make a little note of your ideas on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. What does inference mean? And why do good readers make inferences? Press pause now. Okay, let's have a look and see. Inference, what does inference mean? Inference is when you are looking for clues that have been left by the author. The author has written down some clues for you. They haven't told you. You've got to try and work it out. And we can put two things together to make an inference. We put together the author's clues or the text clues with our schema or our background knowledge, and we come up with an inference. And good readers make inferences because it helps us to understand the text better. Okay, so our vocabulary for this week. My turn, colossal, your turn. My turn, colossal, your turn. And colossal is if something's really large, it's huge, it's gigantic, it's enormous. It is colossal. My turn, anguish, your turn. My turn, anguish, your turn. So anguish, this means that you are very, very upset about something. You're distraught. You're absolutely devastated and you're feeling anguish. My turn, exasperated, your turn. My turn, exasperated, your turn. Exasperated, that means you're very frustrated or irritated or you're annoyed. You are exasperated. Okay, so we are going to continue to have a look at 1 mark and 2 mark answers. This week we're going to continue to have 1 mark and 2 mark questions. I want you to look really carefully to see how many marks each question is worth. Let's have a little recap as how you answer 1 mark and 2 mark questions. Okay, so 1 mark questions need a short, snappy answer. My turn. 1 mark questions need a short, snappy answer. Your turn. My turn. 1 mark questions need a short, snappy answer. Your turn. Fantastic. I hope that you are saying that really loudly and clearly. Okay, so now we have 1 mark questions. We also have 2 mark questions. And do you know what a 2 mark question needs? That's right, it needs a PE answer. And when I say PE, I am punching my fists in the air. P and I'm punching a fist in the air. E and I'm punching a fist in the air. And that is 2 mark questions. So my turn. 2 mark questions need a PE answer. Your turn. My turn. 2 mark questions need a PE answer. Your turn. Fantastic. And PE, the P stands for point. It's the main idea you want to talk about. And the E stands for evidence. It's proving it. It's justifying it. It's backing it up with an example from the text. Okay, so now we're going to carry on with our reading. I want you to get your book out and I want you to turn to page 73. And the chapter is called Dream Catching. Okay, so I wonder what this is going to be about. I'm having a little think. I think that this must be when the BFG goes off and catches the dreams. Right, we're going to read along. I'm going to read along. You're going to follow along. And then we're going to stop at some points to ask questions. So get yourselves ready. And I'm going to read to you. The big friendly giant put the suitcase on the ground. He bent down low so that his enormous face was close to Sophie's. "From now on, we is keeping as still as winky little miceies," he whispered. Sophie nodded. The misty vapour swirled around her. It made her cheeks damp and left dewdrops in her hair. The BFG opened the suitcase and took out several empty glass jars. He set them ready on the ground, with their screw tops removed. Then he stood up very straight. His head was now high up in the swirling mist, and it kept disappearing, then appearing again. He was holding the long net in his right hand. Sophie, staring upwards, saw through the mist that his colossal ears, now we know huge, humongous, colossal ears were beginning to swivel out from his head, then began waving gently to and fro. Suddenly the BFG pounced. He leapt high in the air and swung the net through the mist with a great swishing sweep of his arm. "Got him!" he cried. A jar! Quick, quick, quick!" Sophie picked up a jar and held it to him. He grabbed hold of it. He lowered the net. Very carefully, he tipped something absolutely invisible from the net into the jar. He dropped the net swiftly, clapped one hand over the jar. "The top!" he whispered. "The jar top, quick!" Sophie picked up the screwed top and handed it to him. He screwed it on tight, and the jar was closed. The BFG was very excited. He held the jar close to one ear and listened intently. "It's a wink squiffler," he whispered with a thrill in his voice. It's even better. It's a fizz wizard. It's a golden fizz wizard." Sophie stared at him. Oh my, he said, holding the jar in front of him. "This will be giving some little toddler a very happy night when I is blowing it in." "Is this really a good one?" Sophie asked. "A good one?" he cried. "It's a golden fizz wizard. It's not often I is getting one of these." We're going to stop there, and I'm going to ask a question. Why does the BFG get excited about the dream? And this is a 2-mark question, so it's going to need a PE answer. I want you to listen whilst I think aloud. I think that the BFG gets excited about the dream because in the text it says because it is a good dream and a very rare one to catch. Now, I haven't written that very well, I'm sorry. I should have checked over that. But I think the BFG is excited about the dream because it is a good dream and a very rare one to catch. And I think this because the BFG tells Sophie that it will give someone a very happy night, and it is not often that he gets one of these. That's what I think. What do you think? I want you to have a little think. Say your answer out loud, and then write your answer down on a piece of paper or on your home learning book. Why does the BFG get excited about the dream? Press pause now. Okay, you're back. Fantastic. We're going to keep reading until we come to our next question. He handed the jar to Sophie and said, "Please be as still as starfish now. I is thinking there may be a whole swarm of fizz wizards up here today. And do kindly stop breathing. You is terribly noisy down there." I haven't moved a muscle, Sophie said. Then don't, the BFG answered sharply. Once again he stood up tall in the mist, holding his net at the ready. Then came the long silence, the waiting, the listening, and at last, with surprising suddenness, came the leap and the swish of the net. "Another jar!" he cried. "Quick, quick, quick!" When the second dream was safely in the jar and the top was screwed down, the BFG held it to his ear. "Oh, no," he cried. "Oh, mince my maggots! Oh, swipe my swoggles!" "What's the matter?" Sophie asked. "It's a Trogglehumper," he shouted. His voice was filled with fury and anguish. "Oh, save our solos!" he cried. "Deliver us from weasels. The devil is dancing on my dibbler." Okay, I want us to stop there. And my next question is, what kind of dream do you think a Trogglehumper is? I want you to have a little think. I want you to say your answer out loud, then make a note of your ideas on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. This is a 2-mark PE question. And then I'd like you to press play and we'll continue the lesson. What kind of dream do you think a Trogglehumper is? Press pause now. Okay, great, you're back. And here's what I put. I said, I think a Trogglehumper is a bad dream. And I think this because after the BFG catches a dream, his voice is filled with fury and anger. He sounds really, really upset about it. So that's why I think that a Trogglehumper is a bad dream. What did you put? Okay, let's keep reading. What are you talking about? Sophie said the BFG was getting more distressed every moment. "Oh, bash my eye bones," he cried, waving the jar in the air. "I come all this way to get lovely golden dreams, and what is I catching?" "What are you catching?" Sophie said. "I is catching a frightsome Trogglehumper," he cried. "This is a bad, bad dream. It is worse than a bad dream. It is a nightmare." "Oh dear," Sophie said. "What will you do with that?" "I is never letting it go," the BFG cried. "Oh, if I do, then some poor little toddler will have to do the most bloodling time. This one is a real kicksy bog thumper. I is exploding it as soon as I get home." "Nightmares are horrible," Sophie said. "I had one once and I woke up sweating all over." "With this one, you would be waking up screaming all over," the BFG said. "This one would make your teeth stand on end. If this one got into you, your blood would be freezing to icicles and your skin would be going creeping across the floor." "Is it as bad as that?" "It's worse," said the BFG. "This is a real whoopsie grob switcher." "You said it was a Trogglehumper," Sophie told him. "It is a Trogglehumper," cried the exasperated BFG, "but it is also a bog thumper and a grob switcher. It is all three riddled into one. Oh, I is so glad I is clutching it tight." "Ah, you wicked beastie, you," he cried, holding up the jar and staring into it. "Never more is you going to be bunk-doodling the poor little human beanie toddlers." Sophie, who was also staring into the glass jar, cried out, "I can see it. There's something in there." "Of course there is something in there," the BFG said. "You is looking at a frightsome Trogglehumper." "But you told me dreams were invisible." "They is always invisible until they is captured," the BFG told her. "After that, they is losing a little of their invisibility. We is seeing this one very clearly." Inside the jar, Sophie could see the faint scarlet outline of something that looked like a mixture between a blob of gas and a bubble of jelly. It was moving violently, thrashing against the sides of the jar and forever changing shape. And we're going to stop there because I've got another question. Why is the Trogglehumper thrashing against the jar so much? And this is a 1-mark question. I want you to have a little think, then say your answer out loud and make a note of your ideas on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. Then I'd like you to press play and we'll continue the lesson. Why is the Trogglehumper thrashing against the jar so much? Press pause now. Okay, so you're back. Fantastic. So I asked, why is the Trogglehumper thrashing against the jar so much? And I put, I think the Trogglehumper is thrashing against the jar so much because it wants to escape. Yeah, I think it definitely wants to get out of the jar. Is that what you put down? Well done if you did. Okay, we're going to continue reading. It's wiggling all over the place, Sophie cried. It's fighting to get out. It'll bash itself to bits. The nastier the dream, the angrier it is getting when it is in prison, the BFG said. It is the same with all wild animals. If an animal is fierce and you putting it in a cage, it will make a tremendous rumpeldumpus. And if it is a nice animal like a cockatoodaloo or a frogglefrump, it will sit quietly. Dreams is exactly the same. This one is a nasty, fierce, bow-grotting nightmare. Just look at him splashing against the glass. It's quite frightening, Sophie cried. I would be hating to get this one inside me on a darksome night, the BFG said. So would I, Sophie said. The BFG started putting the bottles back into the suitcase. Is that all? Sophie asked. Are we going? I is so upset by this troggle-humping, bog-thumping grub-switcher, said the BFG, that I is not wishing to go on. Dream catching is finished for today. And we're going to stop there. And I'm going to ask, why doesn't the BFG want to continue dream catching today? I want you to have a little think. I want you to say your answer out loud and then make a note of your ideas on your piece of paper or on your home learning book, and then press play and continue the lesson. Why doesn't the BFG want to continue dream catching today? It's a 1-mark question. Press pause. Okay, let's have a look and see what I put. Why doesn't the BFG want to continue dream catching today? I said, I think that the BFG doesn't want to continue dream catching today because he feels so upset about catching a horrible dream, the Trogglehumper. That's why I think that the BFG wants to stop. Okay, I'm going to finish reading the rest of the story, rest of the chapter. Soon Sophie was back in the waistcoat pocket and the BFG was racing home as fast as he could go. When, at last, they emerged out of the mist and came again onto the hot yellow wasteland, all the other giants were sprawled out on the ground, fast asleep. Okay, well done, and we've come to the end of today's lesson. Tomorrow we're going to continue reading the BFG and carry on making inferences. On your piece of paper or in your home learning book, you could make a prediction about what you think will happen next in the story. Well done for coming along to the lesson, and I look forward to continuing it with you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.